In the past 5 years, my business partner and I helped clients gain over 5 million followers, and as a result of that, have generated over $100 million in sales for our clients. Now, bulk part of that all came from Instagram organic content. And in today's video, what I'm gonna go through is do the one thing that nobody's really done. I'm gonna break down exactly which types of content to actually create sales and which ones are actually just duds. Because here's the truth. Everyone looks at content as like this golden goose in terms of if I just post content, sales are going to come to me. Oh, Iman Ghazi is using the square format. Therefore, if I do that, I'm going to go viral. The harsh reality is it's bullshit. There's really specific psychological triggers that if you use specific formats, you will naturally attract better or worse audiences. And so in today's video, we're going to do some breakdown, 8 to 10 common formats. I'm gonna give you a quick rating in terms of where I would rank them and if I would use them in the first place at all. And then towards the end, I will show you the number one content type and piece that has generated a bulk part of our leads and has led to high ticket sales, selling anywhere between 10 to 50K package. Now, if you're not subscribed yet, my name is Jeremy Moser. I'm the co-founder of Social Profit Media. We're an Instagram marketing agency and we help coaches, consultants scale to, 3, 5, 10 mil per year using Instagram content. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And if you are new or recurring viewer or subscriber, welcome back. This is about to be a big banger. This is day 2 of 30 of me just posting one video every single day, sharing everything that I've learned in the past 5 years, running an agency and building content engines together with my business partner for some of the biggest info brands out there. So with that said, let's dive right into this and kind of get started. So in total, what we're going to look at in this video are, eight different types or a bit more. We're going to look at talking head videos. We're going to look at like B-roll multi-sliders. We're going to look at like sort of like the regular like studio talking heads. We're going to look at like the iPhone yaps. We'll look at green screen videos and the square edit types. And then we'll look at carousels, 2 different types as well as 3 other types. So with that being said, what I'm going to start with is probably the most common one, which is talking head. Now, when you look at like talking head, right, what you think about is just the regular stuff. And I'm gonna use the person that I've kind of figured here. Essentially, like when you look at this guy, Devin Jatha, he's doing a great job on like talking heads. But the simplistic point is behind this. It's just you talking to the camera about something subject matter expertise based or like something that's like very technical, right? And honestly, in my eyes, this is one of the really better formats. The reason for it is super simple. When I think of it from a marketing perspective, I want to have higher viewer retention from the right people, right? So what I want is the type of people that care about tactical videos, right? I want to have people that actually watch and consume the information and want to act on those information. And to me, what happens here is super simple. When somebody listens to a spoken word, what happens is, to be quite frank with you, they have a higher retention. Basically, what I mean with that is they actually have a higher chance of actually consuming the information and getting value out of it, which I really hate to say this, but a certain demographic will probably not be able to go and do that. And so for that very reason, to me, I put down Reels talking heads as an A tier. Now, the only downside to it, to be quite frank with you, is like number one, to be good on camera from a speaking perspective is rather difficult. And like a lot of people fail at that very thing. And number two, which is the second thing, is that to get it to work is very difficult, right? Because there's just so many variables, such as like the editing, the background, how you speak, what you say. It's just rather difficult, which is why it's not an S tier. Now, next, what I want to go through is the B-roll multi-sliders. Now, honestly, I would really say that's kind of like the style that we've kind of pioneered, and honestly, it's probably one of my favorite content pieces, and I'm gonna show you guys why. This is one of our long-standing clients, by the way. It's probably the only client I will ever give up here because he's been okay with it and he's been very public about working with us. So, for example, as you can see here, right off the dome, a few days ago, 43,000 likes. What you can see here is it's super simple concept. This honestly to me is kind of like direct response. The premise of it is super simple. We use a B-roll footage, right, of like, videos or like pictures, and we overlay it with copy. And the way this works is like we kind of use like a lot of like clickbait like headlines that really catch attention, and then we try to like grasp sort of like catch the attention, retain the attention a lot, and then we just draft our argument. Now there's a few benefits to this, which is why I really like this type of style. Number one, anyone can do it. So if you as a personal brand, you don't really have the time to create content, your team can literally do this for you, which I think is a big bonus, right? Number two, because it's not spoken, right? And because you can overlay it with music and you can use those factors, you can reach millions and millions of people, which is kind of the downside that you can't get a lot of unqualified people in, but if your copywriting skills are on top, you'll be able to like sum that out. And like number three, to be quite frank with you, is very scalable. If you have like a, if you have like a good angle, like for example, we figured for this particular client that the wife angle works really well, we can just recycle it over and over, right? And because when people actually read, they actually get pretty involved. So like for us on those type of reels, we have the highest like sort of like comment or like inbound lead generation rate because people read it and they're like, oh, they're very involved. These ones, the talking heads, are best for quality in terms of the number of qualified leads. But these ones are the best for just like if you just want raw quantity of leads. These ones are by far superior. And therefore, to me, I'm definitely biased because of this, I'm gonna just say, but to me, that's S tier. For our agency, we structure most of our like reels in that way. We have a very specific way of doing it, but they're by far one of my most favorite ways to do it. Next, I'll do is kind of like the studio, like sort of like creative angle type reels. And for this, I'm gonna use a former client, and I wanna make sure that this is very clear cut. He's done all these videos himself, Rob the Bank. Absolute content legend, to me, one of the best creators that I think is happening right now. I think he's gone more into a bit more mainstream stuff, but he's crushing it. And so I just want to break down the premise of it and just kind of watch this with you.
Dollars on TikTok Shop in less than 12 months. And these are real case studies that we are doing right now. We are making thousands of dollars per day, and some of these brands could be turned around and sold for millions tomorrow. Even if you're lazy, we use AI to do a lot of the heavy lifting. There's no excuse. First, use FastMoss to find one of...
So to basically show this is like a multi-angle shot, right? And it's like very creative angled. The way I would kind of express this is the following. You pretty much go and like you enter a prelude, and then when you go into the main part, you demonstrate, what you're actually saying. To me, that is the most valuable part because two things. Number one, again, the spoken word is super powerful, right? In terms of, who you attract, you'll attract a heavily US speaking crowd, to be quite frank. And number two, the quality of people that watch you throughout is pretty high. And number three, by showing the demonstration, you already like sort of like program the audience in a way where it's like, hey, look, you actually really need to like sort of like step it up, or like you actually can visualize, what's happening, which means the commitment at which these people show in is incredibly high. I can just tell you like both, seeing it from Rob, but also from creators that use a similar style. The types of leads that get in are like the easiest to close. However, on the downside, this does require you to be extremely creative, have a solid creative team. Like Rob's editing style, very unique, one of the best editors I've seen. His ability to speak to the camera and like to come up with ideas, very unique as well. So it's just tough because like skill-wise, you need to be a lot higher. Now, next, what I want to go through is like the iPhone yaps. I'm gonna use a creator here that I think is doing like a fairly decent job. Actually, I'm gonna use Shelby's app because Shelby does a really great job on camera. So, and I think it's one of the brands that everyone knows. And obviously, she's kind of known for like yapping on camera. I'm gonna just use one.
When you're about to walk into a club and that shit is busy, packed, like the line is super long, and then your really cool guy friend takes you and go, there's actually a back door. Like we can just go to the back door of the club. You're like, oh my gosh, let's fucking go, because I was not gonna wait in that line.
So just to kind of show you, it's basically just where you kind of yap into the camera. It's much less concise and structured than like a talking head video, So that's one of the things that I think it stands off right about. Now, I will say it this way. On this particular stuff, I'm rated a B tier. Now, the reason for it is super simple, right? And I'm explaining this in a second. If you essentially yap and you're good at yapping and kind of articulating yourself, it just has pros and cons. The pro is that you can be extremely articulate with stuff, and like if you have a good retention, you can go extremely viral. Like I'm talking, the virality of it is insane. Secondly, which is a big pro, it's super easy to make. Like I can take my phone right off the bat and I can go, yap into it and post, boom. I can literally like have it produced, which means low quality, like low quantity of editing is required, which means low effort, low cost, which is amazing. But from my experience, here's the issue. The quality of the person watching it is just extremely low. I don't mean this in a bad way, but across the board, across all our offers, what we have found is that those type of like reels, you should attract a younger crowd, right? Which if you're selling to younger people, that's awesome for you. And if you're like in your 20s watching this, in your young 20s, you should definitely do this because like it's a great way to connect with the audience. You know, those are usually the types where you have like extreme cult audiences, like TJR, breast scales, like those type of people. But I will always say that personally, I don't like the fact that it's just like the quality and like the affordability that these people have is bad. So as a result of it, because you have a lower quality audience that you attract, you need a bigger quantity of leads that you can sell to, which is just not my favorite, to be honest with you. So I'm a rate it's a B tier. Now to finish up what I said with Rob, honestly it's an S tier for me if you can do those type of creatives ones, but they're super rare, and I would just demote them a bit because it's a bit harder to create. Now next up we have the green screen. I want to show you guys a creator that's honestly like one of my favorites. His name's Invest with Zach. So when I oh god, it's an S with Ace, my bad. And when you look at this guy, like there's one clear thing that stands out. I call this the green screen effect, okay? And so basically the premise of it is super simple. You basically just like articulate yourself about a topic, and then from there you essentially just like use visuals as green screens to kind of articulate yourself over it.
These things could be little money printers. Let's show you how much this 100K Matchbox and Racine, Wisconsin makes me. We're getting 1,300 rents. Here's the operating expenses, the part nobody else on the internet wants to show you. And even after the...
So basically you can just see it's just a screen, right? He obviously like records a screen or like puts his face into it here and just shows it stuff. Now, honestly, like what I will go and say is this type of thing, if done right, is 100% S tier type content. No, yeah, S tier type for two super reasons. Number one, if it's done properly with the green screen, it can go viral and reach 1 million plus people. Not gonna go super viral, but here's the caveat. If it gets 1 million views, it's gonna get like 70-80% hyper qualified like type of views. And that's really what I kind of like. So if you have an offer where you target like corporate employees or you target people in like their 25, 30s, right? What you're gonna see is like a much higher percentage in qualified leads. So for us, you know, we had a client that has a business acquisition offer, and we did a video for that particular client that was like a green screen. You know, got like 4,000 likes, but we got like 1,000 inbound leads, and like I'm talking 80% super qualified. You know, booked out the calendar for a week and a half. So that's why I really like those. On the flip side, you got to be articulate and straight to the cut on the camera. You got to be able to understand how you can use the visual slides in an efficient way to actually attract and retain people, right? And then essentially from there, kind of take it as that. I just personally believe, you know, it's a great one, especially if you target an older demographic. If you're younger, not really, unless you can really do it well. And last but not least, I will say a benefit of it is very low production cost again, because you just need your phone. Now, next, what I want to show you is what I call the square edit. Let me see if I can off the dome find one. But need to quickly see if we have one. I think Eman did them a while ago, or maybe if I jump on Reels, this might work. Here we go. So first fit, it hits me. So it's literally just a video, has a one-liner and then this, right? And I will honestly gonna say it's just like this thing, and you kind of yap into the phone, and you do like the square little edit and like a catchy headline that's a bit controversial. Honestly, in my honest, humble opinion, this is the type of content that I would never post myself, and I would probably forbid it, so I'm gonna give it a D. And just super simple, like it's very similar to like the iPhone yap, but here's the thing. You can get away with like just putting a talking list video, right? And just do B-roll over this and just put a headline on. The issue is the lead quality is like abysmal. This type of video has by far the worst lead quality out of there, because you're just going to appeal to like 16-year-olds. And honestly, like I don't want to sell to 16-year-olds. I think it's a shitty demographic to sell to, because you need to essentially like drain their entire savings or like max out their credit cards, and it just creates a ton of shitstorm on the back end. And like, I really don't want that. I just think generally speaking, I haven't really seen those type of videos do extremely well. We don't do it for clients. And as a result of it, like they just don't do really well. And the last but not least, I'm gonna go into what I call, I guess, the triple question mark, but I'll just like call it like the basically like the TikTok style, right? Now, let me see if they have the clips, because they actually like that's who I took it from. And by the way, when I give good or bad ratings, it's not me saying these creators are amazing or shit. It's just like giving you guys context and showing you examples. So for example, when you look at like this, it's basically like TikTok captions over like B-roll. It's kind of like a difference of whatever it is, but that's just what I think. So on this, it's obviously
there are footsteps on the moon.
It's basically just music and like obviously TikTok captions overlaid. Honestly, I'm gonna go and give those ones it's a C tier. It's not as bad as the square ones, but here's the simple truth, right? If you have TikTok captions, you're gonna attack a TikTok crowd because that's what they engage with. And TikTok has a notoriously known bad lead quality because people in their 30s or 25 plus aren't on TikTok. At least I'm not. And so as a result, this thing is a shitty content piece to post because it's motivational, right? And essentially, like with motivational stuff, it just doesn't really like resonate with people. People don't give a fuck about the motivational stuff. And the people who do, generally speaking, are financially incompetent from buying your offer, or aren't motivationally able to actually take action, which means they're going to turn to like potential refund cases. So it's just, as a whole, the lead quality you attract from it is shit. And I know by now you've realized that I yap a lot about lead quality, right? What I will say on this is like, yes, it's cool. Like lead quality is cool, but the issue is like you need to be very specific with the type of leads that you use. Because if you have very positive lead quality, right, you can actually scale that type of content format, right? Because like certain formats attract certain people, and then that will give you really high lead quality, which means you book a higher percentage of calls and you can really attract a shit ton of people. And so I think that's super important to note that certain formats give you better or worse lead quality. But on the flip side, certain formats can also bring greater quantity of leads. It's about finding the right mix between quantity of leads and like quality of leads. Okay, so that's really on the reel section. Now we're heading into probably my favorite puzzle, which is carousels. Okay, there's two types of carousels: Twitter threads, picture and copy. So I'm gonna go into the threads just to kind of show you what it means, because whenever I explain to someone, they're like confused. So let me show you real quick. So this is, by the way, another client of ours, just someone who actually does it, who executes our strategy or the similar strategy to what we use fairly well. As you can see, this is basically a thread, right? So it's basically like a screenshot of Twitter slides, and it's basically like 10 slides. Again, it articulates a point, and basically at the end there's the CTA. I will be super honest with you, that is a S tier. Like that is my GOAT piece of content for like two simple reasons, okay? Because number one, if somebody actually goes and takes their phone, right? They take out their phone and they go, oh, let me scroll 10 slides and actually read them. If that's what happens, then that is essentially like what really nurtures them up. And so when they see a CTA, they are proportionately more likely to actually take action than if they just like saw a 10-second clip and saw you do like, oh, DM me for a free playbook, right? So because they scroll all the way down to here, boom, your rate is much higher. Additionally, with the comment CTA here, because they've read, they're much more likely to comment, which if you get a shit ton of comments, that can boost you up within the algorithm, which is another great benefit. And I will say this, threads are perfectly designed to create what I call high IQ pieces of content, more tactical stuff, more complex topics broken down. And as a result of that, you will get higher quality people in. I love this particular format because again, what it does, it basically like keeps off the low dopamine like warriors that just want a little hit of dopamine, like I'm motivated, or like, oh, I'm gonna be rich. I hate those type of people and I do not want to sell to them. And so I'd rather discriminate those type of people who are like, oh, there's no Lambo in the video, or there's no Lambo in the picture, you know, he's not with like 15 women. I'd rather have that type of stuff because again, it's really tactical and it attracts the right type of person, which hopefully by now you've realized that this is the whole point of the video. The next thing is like picture and copy, you know. Again, let me see if I think he might have one here as well that we can use as a good example. And otherwise we'll go back to using Paul as an example because we execute on that for him. Here we go. So for example, obviously this didn't do particularly well. Let's see if this one did. Yep. Here we go. Oh, it's a video. It's very simple to essentially like the lifestyle reel that we just discussed, the B-roll multi-slider. But essentially what we do is we just basically like take screenshots of the reels and post them as a carousel, or we essentially create a carousel, you know, as we would normally, as we would do with like a Twitter thread, and we just post it over like footage. Again, with that said, lead quality is a lot higher. You know, you get like nicer through clicks, and if they do well, they do extremely well. What I personally like about it the most is the fact that you can really add in visual aids, right? For me, visual aids, again, it's great to kind of like communicate a certain lifestyle or like element of stuff through to people instead of just like making a bland statement, right? I think just the visual aids allows you to like really like deepen the message and kind of show the visualize the process if you're doing a tactical breakdown. And like we've seen that if done right, if the topic is correct and whatnot, it actually works extremely well. I know we've had some really slap for him, instead of just showing you all the duds. But again, here we talk about like a machine. We show the machine right off the bat, right? And that we kind of really demonstrate the product and we demonstrate everything else. So this honestly, like I would say off of that one, I would probably give this like I'll give it a B tier. Actually, I'll give it an A tier. It's pretty damn good. I think the only element of it is like getting virality on it, like big virality, like multiple millions of views, rather difficult, but a lot of benefits. Which, that are really the two things, to me, carousels I like the most. Now, I'm gonna give a few honorable mentions, okay? So number one are tweets. I don't need to disclose tweets massively, but essentially tweets are just, your regular tweet, just a tweet screenshotted. I honestly would say they are probably a B tier type of content, for the simple reason that I think they are great for nurturing tools, and if you use them to like communicate an opinion or like just make a quick statement, I think they're pretty damn efficient and they do their job. However, on the flip side, you're really rarely going to go super viral with it, and if you do, you get a lot of qualified people in. And I think some people would say they don't look very aesthetically pleasing, which I'm fully on board with. Next thing are like the picture dumps. I'm gonna use someone that I guess is like an IG guru or something like that. It's called Nick Setting. And like he has all these like aesthetic Twitter carousels, right? I'll say it's probably a bit more like it's the same as Iman does as well. I will honestly give him a C tier, to be quite frank with you, for a few reasons. Positive, really builds great nurturing with the audience. Builds great nurturing and really kind of builds the connection. It shows your lifestyle and it speaks a bit more of like the type of person that you are, which I think is really great if you're trying to sell your persona a lot. I used to remember that, back when we worked with, for example, Rob, his picture carousels, they were incredibly well designed and it really built the brand and it really built the audience. So on that element, it's really positive. I will just say it doesn't really generate money. And the leads that usually come from, if you're generating those type of lifestyle reels, again, there are a lot of poor people because those are the ones that spend all day scrolling and looking at like fancy lifestyle. So that's just the type of stuff that I don't particularly like, which is why we don't particularly do it. Next up, we got Big Dog Mosey, which I'll just quickly show you guys what I mean with that. So the quotes that I have, they're pretty much like this type of stuff. So like you basically have a quote or a tweet and you put it over like a picture. Honestly, and just like it's more like a quote. I think him and Cody Sanchez do this a bunch. I'm gonna give this one a good old like F tier. Now, making sure so nobody comes and attacks me and basically acts like I'm slandering Hermosi. I'm not. He's awesome. His brand's bigger than mine. His brand's bigger than most of our clients. So yeah, I'm going to shut up. However, I will go and say that from a pure like monetization perspective, this doesn't really bring in any sales at all. If anything, it's just for broad reach. And honestly, when we ever have done this, the lead quality has been absolutely abysmal, right? So if it comes down to making money, like that's just not going to work. And the last that we have is like graphics. Like I don't even know who does those anymore, but if you do them, you're pretty damn retarded. It's like when you just use like random visuals. Again, this is going to be like, I would love to have an F on this thing because I would shove that bitch below F. Like it's so bad. Like the worst type of content you can post. And if you watch this video and you're one of those like shout outs people posting these carousels, you should go and have a serious conversation with your team because those are the worst content pieces you could post. They literally diminish any form of like credibility that you have. And honestly, you will probably break about 17 different FTC rules in order to go and shill your program to some person who doesn't have any money. Again, long-winded story. Hate them because they're super impersonal, so they're not actually going to build your brand or build any form of connection. Number two, the types of people that respond to this type of shit, they generally have like an IQ of about 7 and they probably didn't even pass like middle school. And on top of that, like the lead quality is just so abysmal. So it's like the only way you can make money off of this content if you spam it, throw a bunch of ad spend on it, and on top of that, again, break about 17 different like FTC rules, in order to go and like shill them a program. Under context, that'll probably get you put in jail. Long story short, don't put those type of content in. Okay, so again, to kind of capture everything that I just covered, obviously we've covered all the different formats. Again, I would say realistically, if I had to choose two, personally speaking, I would probably go for as a brand. If you're very much like you enjoy being a creative, you enjoy being on camera, I would probably do this type of video. Figure a better brand. Those type of videos, or this one for like reels, right? And then additionally like supplemented maybe with some green screens, and on the carousels, which is probably like that what I would choose for a simple reason, right? To kind of put this into a funnel perspective, so like all you marketers don't just think that this is like some random strategy. So the way I kind of perceive this whole thing is pretty much like, to me, reels, they're like top of funnel, right? So essentially if I have a lot of like top of funnels, again we're pulling the reels, they have the ability to go and like really like nurturing, bring in a lot of people, do all of that stuff. Then we have the middle of the funnel, okay, which to me, that's what I would say are like story sequences, which I'll make a separate video over. And then on top of that, like what we'll do is we have threads, right? They're great to nurture, the carousel posts that I spoke about. I really like them because they're really nurturing to get people warm in. And then obviously like bottom of the funnel, honestly, pretty much the same, threads and stories. Again, threads, they're honestly my favorite things because they give really high lead quality. Off of Reels, if you do like a comment, whatever, lead quality can be iffy. So I really didn't listen as like a bottom of the funnel stuff because like really like it kind of is, but the bottom of the funnel stuff is more done inside of the DMs. But those are really my favorite types of content, again, as opposed to just the one thing, which is how much fucking money can they make your info business and help you scale to the next level, okay? So with that said, if you have any more questions, drop them in the comments. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. If you watched me yap for 25 minutes, just be aware, I really appreciate you. And again, next video tomorrow, it's going to be another banger. I'm just going to do my best to share as much as I've learned in the past, 5 years of being the co-founder of a marketing agency. And again, creating content for my business partner for some of the bigger info brands in the space. With that said, hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you in the next one.